Welcome to another episode of the Anxiety RX podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Russ Kennedy. I'm going to do this solo today because when we look back and we see the most popular episodes, it's usually me. So there you go. I'm a star. And I want it to be kind of like you go for a walk, you put this podcast on, and I talk to you directly about your anxiety. I think that's kind of like the little thing that I have in my head is how this is going to go. Is I want to just be able to chat with you specifically about your anxiety because it's really my anxiety. Your anxiety is my anxiety, is the whole world's anxiety right now. Everybody is feeling anxious. Now, there's worriers like us where we feel it more than everybody else. And I just wanted to talk to you directly about victim mentality and awareness. Like awareness is so critical to understanding anxiety, to understanding what's going on, because if we're not aware of it, we can't do anything about it. It just runs us behind the scenes. And I think a lot of our nervous systems were kind of forged in protection. I know mine was for sure. And if your nervous system is kind of forged in protection, 80% of your brain development's done before the age of 5 years old. So if your nervous system is forged in this feeling of protection, you have to protect yourself, or there's danger around, there is this sense that life isn't safe. And when life isn't safe, we automatically assume a victim mentality. And I haven't seen anybody with chronic anxiety who did not have a victim mentality. They go hand in hand. Victim mentality and chronic anxiety go together. Because that victim mentality makes us feel weak. It makes us feel like we can't do things, but we do things. We do go to the store. We do finish our degrees. We do raise our kids, but we just do it with 100 pounds of fear in our back. And I think that requires a tremendous amount of strength. And I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for the strength that we have to actually manage life with this underlying feeling of chronic protection. And like I say, awareness is key. Awareness is what we have to have before we can change something. If you're not aware of it, again, we can't change it. So identifying victim mentality is so critical in understanding our own anxiety. When we look at things, when we look at the world in general as a place we need to be protected from. Now, not obviously, not overtly do we do this, but unconsciously, there's always this sense that this could go wrong or that could go wrong. So we operate on this sense that things are going to go wrong rather than things are going to go okay. I think that's probably the easiest way to explain it is we're always looking, maybe not consciously, but unconsciously. And this is what we need to be aware of, is that we can become aware that the world is a safe place. Einstein said, the biggest question that we have to decide as human beings is the world a safe place or not? And I think that's true. And especially for us worriers, because when you feel that you need to be protected from the world, which was your experience as a child, that pervades your adult life. You may not feel it day to day. You may not feel it all the time, but just creating this awareness of, oh, this is my victim mentality coming up when I have this talk to do in front of people, or when I have to travel somewhere and I'm, oh my God, is the plane going to be okay? Or am I going to be frozen in fear? That's victim mentality. That is the part of us that is childlike, that is recapitulating the fear that we went through when we were children. And then we just chronically live in that state. Now, if we're feeling good, if things are going our way in life, we don't feel it so much. The anxiety isn't so bad. For most of us, for some people, it's chronic. It was for me for a long time, just chronic, like every freaking day. But when things go poorly, then we tend to revert back into this groove of protection that was put into us when we were younger. So what is awareness? Well, awareness is the ability to see your thoughts and curiosity. As Michael Singer said, you are not your worries. You are the one who, and I'm paraphrasing here, you are not your worries. You are the one who observes your worries in conscious awareness. And when we observe our worries, we get a degree of separation from them. So we're not them. We aren't our worries. And I think when we don't have awareness, we are our worries. The alarm takes us over. We become this very familiar, very fearful, very afraid child. Even as an adult, even as a 50-year-old doctor. I became this petrified child. Now, I learned ways of showing other people that I wasn't a petrified child, but underneath everything, that's what was happening. So until I became aware of the fact that I was chronically thinking the world was something I needed to be protected from, chronically feeling like a victim, even though overtly I didn't. If you asked me, are you a victim, Russ? I would say, no, I'm a doctor and I do this. And like, I'm not a victim, but the child in me certainly felt like I was a victim. So awareness is conscious attention. It's not just sensory, it's a deliberate presence. It's a deliberate decision in your mind to go, hey, what am I worried about right now? Can I become curious about that worry? Because as soon as you become curious about something, you take the emotion out of it and you can observe it at a curious distance. So, this curious distance is the power of observing your own thoughts, often called meta awareness, the awareness that you're aware. And Viktor Frankl has this famous saying, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our freedom, is our ability to choose what's going to happen next, to choose our own way. So awareness is the skill that creates that space of freedom and choice. If we're not aware, again, we can't do anything about it. But once we're aware, even if it's painful, even if we're aware of something that hurts us, it's still better than unconsciously just going into the default mode network of protection and like, I have to be protected from everything. So awareness versus anxiety, like seeing the truth that anxiety is just the thoughts of your mind. And really, the root cause of this is this alarm feeling in your body. And if this alarm stuck in our body from old unresolved wounds, when you had to be constantly in this mode of protection, your body feels that. And your mind reads that through interoception and it starts looking for things that are dangerous. So this is the alarm anxiety cycle. The alarm in our body from old unresolved wounds triggers through interoception these thoughts of our mind, these worries, warnings, what ifs, worst case scenarios. And that in turn fires up the alarm. So we get caught in this loop because anxiety isn't one thing. It isn't the thoughts of the mind so much. It's this feeling in the body. And it's both. And they loop on each other. And until you see the alarm anxiety cycle, you can't do anything about it. You're trying to fix your thoughts. You're trying to go through cognitive therapy and understand and getting insights. And there's nothing wrong with insights. It's just if you don't address the alarm directly, it's always going to hold you hostage. You're always going to be working to create this positive psychology format in your brain. And it's just so much work. It's so much work to think positive all the time, especially when you're feeling negative. It's very, very difficult to create thoughts that are different from how your body feels. So if your body's feeling alarmed and stressed, it's very difficult to constantly say, everything is great. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. Things are good. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's just that we need to find this way, this connection with the younger version of us as well. The direct connection to where the anxiety actually is starting from. So you can't heal what you can't see. Awareness separates our thoughts from our sensations. Awareness allows us the ability to go, oh, these are thoughts, these are worries, these are warnings, what ifs, worst case scenarios in my mind. And really, the root cause of this is in my body. Can I look into my body and find this place of pressure or pain or heat or coolness or discomfort or hollowness or whatever is in our body? Can we find this? Because if we can find that, that's the root cause of what's causing the worries in our mind. And I think that's where traditional therapy really falls down, is that it's trying to fix a symptom. It's trying to fix the thoughts of your mind when really the problem is this alarm in your body because your nervous system was forged in this protection. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you get what you need as a child, if you have an attuned, attached parent or parents, and they show you that you are seen, heard, open to, understood, loved, and defended, then your nervous system says the world is safe. This is a safe place to be. But if your parents don't do that, or worse, your parents are the source of your pain, your nervous system gets forwards in protection. And protection leads to victim mentality, and victim mentality leads to worry, and worry leads to all this negative reinforcement of this alarm that sticks in our body, and the cycle just takes us over. So the thoughts are harmless until you believe them. If you believe the thoughts, then they get into your body. Then you start creating this alarm anxiety cycle, and it just goes over and goes over and goes over and goes over. So one of the things that I wrote in my book was, if I go into a 15-year-old boy and say, hey, Bill, you're pregnant, he's just going to laugh at me. He's not going to believe the thoughts. It's not going to affect his body at all. But if I go in and say, hey, Sylvia, you might be pregnant, as a 15-year-old girl, she's probably going to have a freak out. Her body is going to believe that. And her body, because her mind believes that thought, her body has the permission to go nuts. And that's kind of what we do. We give our body permission to go nuts when we start believing our worries. When we believe our worries, it's our belief that activates the alarm, not the thought itself. And that's what happens. So when I tell the boy he's pregnant, doesn't activate anything. When I tell the girl she might be pregnant, activates the whole cascade. So it's understanding that you can see your worries as at a degree of separation. You are not your worries. You are the one who observes your worries at a curious distance, because curiosity takes a lot of the emotion out of it. Once you become curious about something, you start engaging your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, your side prefrontal cortex, your ability to see and discern things. But if you don't, you just go from your limbic system. You just go from your emotional brain that was probably forged in protection, and the cascade just gets going. And you believe the worry. And as soon as you believe the worry, your body believes the worry. Your body gets activated again, which activates your mind, which activates your body. And you get in this alarm and anxiety cycle, and you can't get out. Because if you're in victim mentality and you're in this alarm anxiety cycle, it's going to run your life. It ran my life for 30 years. So it's using curiosity instead of judgment. This activates a different part of your brain. This really comes down to awareness. Can I see myself in the worry? Because that's the problem, is as soon as we get into this deep state of worry, the alarm takes us over. And when the alarm in our physiology takes us over, it shuts off the rational part of our brain. So not only do we make more worries because the mind is a meaning-making, make-sense machine, but we actually believe those worries because the part of our brain that's rational is shut off. So the rational part of our brain that go, hey, these worries are nuts. They're not accurate. They're not true. That part of your brain has been turned down. So A, you make more worries, and B, you believe the worries when you have them, which of course just creates more alarm in your system. And the more alarm you have, the less discernment, the less ability you have to sort of see, hey, I'm an alarm right now, because the alarm is shutting off the rational part of your brain that would tell you, that would show you in awareness that you're actually okay. So victim mentality shows up in people with chronic anxiety because it's a learned behavior. When you live in this chronic state of protection, when you unconsciously kind of feel that there is negativity, and at every turn there could be something negative happening, which is basically a recapitulation of your childhood. If you feel like that unconsciously, you're naturally going to adopt this victim mentality, like, oh, this could happen, that could happen. So your alarm stays up. It never actually has a chance to go down again. So on some level, that victim mentality feels protective because you are warning yourself, you're giving yourself worst case scenarios, what ifs. In a way, your brain kind of says, oh, we're preparing ourselves for this. But you're not, because you're preparing yourself for something that's not going to happen. It really isn't. Most of the things you worry about, 99.9% of the things, don't actually happen. So it's understanding that it's this alarm in our system that shuts off the ability to be aware. So when we bring back awareness, we can cut down on the alarm. And when the alarm slows down, we get our prefrontal cortex back, and we can kind of see, hey, that wasn't the big deal that I thought it was going to be. Like, how many of you have had a horrendous worry, like believing I'm going to die, this is going to kill me, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And then 2 or 3 hours later, you're going, why did I get so upset about that? Like, that seems so ridiculous now. Well, the difference was the state of your body. The state of your body determines how you think. So if you're in this sort of victim mentality alarm state, you are going to think that these worries that you've created are more likely to happen precisely because you've shut off the rational part of your brain, but you also feel just scared. So your brain is a meaning making, make sense machine. So if you feel scared, your brain will start looking in the environment to things that you're scared about. This is one of the things that kills us about anxiety and victim mentality is that when we feel this alarm, we unconsciously start looking for reasons why we're alarmed, and we'll always find them. You're always going to find reasons why you're stressed out or what could possibly go wrong. You're always going to be able to find them. So it's learning, okay, I'm creating this state of awareness in me now where I can see my thoughts, I can see my worries, but I don't necessarily have to be them. If you can see them, you don't have to be them. If you can look at them with curiosity, with 1 degree of separation, you start gaining your rational prefrontal cortex back and you start seeing this isn't as bad as I'm making it out to be. Now, we have to ground our body first because unless we ground our body, our rational mind is still gone. So there is this sense of protection from worry. And I think as children, when we worried and the worrisome thing didn't happen, part of us draws the conclusion that it didn't happen because we worried. Now, consciously, we know as adults and even as children that doesn't make sense. But because it gets repeated over and over and over again, we worry about this, doesn't happen. Maybe worry did something. Maybe worry protected me in some way. So as I'm trying to help you heal from your anxiety, in a way, I'm kind of taking away your special friend because your special friend wants you to worry because the child part of you had some solace in the worry, had a break from the pain in a way. When you make sense of the pain, when you make the uncertain appear more certain, which is what worry does. One of the things that worry does is it makes the uncertain appear a little more certain. And when it appears a little more certain, your brain goes, oh, we're on the right track. Here's some dopamine. So there's a number of reasons why we get locked into this worry state as younger people. And if our nervous system was forged in protection, if we had stress and trauma when we were younger that wasn't resolved, then it just cycles on itself. So we just get more and more anxious and more worried because we think that the worries are actually protecting us, but they're not. The worries are only making us worse. So it's understanding that the worries themselves are just a symptom, but they're a very dangerous symptom because they tend to reinforce themselves. And those worries tend to reinforce themselves through our early life experiences. So if you had things that were stressful for you as a child and you had no power over them, like with me, with my dad, I didn't know when he was going to lose his mind. There becomes this state of hypervigilance, this state of victimhood. Like I don't want to be a victim of my father's craziness. So I am going to protect myself by worrying about it. And because when I worried about my father going crazy and he didn't, there was part of my child mind that says, oh, if you worry about this, he's not going to go crazy. When really that had nothing to do with it. So there is a victim mindset. There is a victim physiology. Our cortisol goes up. Our norepinephrine goes up in our brain. Our sympathetic nervous system starts to get activated by this victim mentality. And then this victim mentality, again, shuts off our rational prefrontal cortex. And we worry more and we can't assess those worries as true. So the illusion of safety versus the reality of shrinking your life. So what do I mean by that? I mean, worries give you the illusion of safety as children, but they shrink your life. You start avoiding things because, oh, I can't go on a plane. I can't go there. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't talk in front of people. Your life shrinks. And then you become more of a victim because you think, oh, I'm such an idiot. I can't talk in front. I can't even go on this trip with my friends. This whole victim mentality just cycles on itself. So it's really understanding that awareness that you're creating a victim of yourself is the first stage in being able to do something about it. And you may not be able to do something about it for weeks to months at a time, but just becoming aware, oh, I'm creating a victim out of myself here. My physiology has shut off the part of me that would make me courageous, that would make me be grounded in this moment. So it sucks me into the alarm anxiety cycle. And that is such a familiar cycle that as children, we equate familiarity with security. So because the cycle is so familiar, we go back to it. It's like that t-shirt that says, I'm in my own little world, but it's okay, they know me here. So it's really understanding that you're not a helpless victim. And you can even say to yourself, I'm in victim mentality right now, and I can love that about myself. I can love the child in me who believed that they had to be this victim, that they had to worry to stay safe. So you can say, I see that I'm a victim right now. I can observe my victim mentality in curious awareness and not judge myself for it. Just notice it. Just notice, hey, I'm in victim right now. I'm aware that I have created this victim mentality right now. And I have to be able to see it so I don't have to be it. So awareness allows you this ability to see something and not be it. Again, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space, there's a choice. So you have to create that space, though. You have to create that space in your body. You have to be able to see that you're heading into this negative victim-based mentality. Put your hand on your chest, breathe in, feel your feet on the ground, ground yourself, breathe in an essential oil, whatever it takes to bring you into the sensation of the moment. This is where sensation without explanation comes from. When you're anxious and you've created this victim mentality in yourself, you put your hand on your chest, you breathe in, you go sensation without explanation, sensation without explanation, sensation without explanation. You can even do it right now. Put your hand on your chest and just go sensation without explanation. And just take a breath and just feel your body and know that in this moment, you are perfectly safe. As much as your old programming is telling you you have to be vigilant, you don't. Right now, right here and right now, you're perfectly safe. And the more you practice this, when you start entering this victim mentality, when you become aware that you're entering worry, the more you start creating a different pathway. And when you create a different pathway that's helpful, now your mind starts following that pathway more and more and more. And you get out of that alarm anxiety cycle. Because it's really breaking that alarm anxiety cycle. And part of that is breaking the victimhood that goes along with it, that allows you to actually heal from anxiety rather than just coping with it. So know that you didn't choose the pattern, but you can choose now. You can create the space between stimulus, which is I'm a worried victim, and the response, which is worrying. You can create a new response, which is putting your hand on your chest, breathing in, and just understanding that the child in you is the one that's freaking out right now. The adult in you is the one that's holding your chest, taking in a breath, making the intention that you are going to take your attention away from these worries of your mind and go into the safety and security and grounding in your body. And when you breathe in and stay with that feeling, when you stay with sensation without explanation, you start creating this place where you can create some faith in your own ability to deal with whatever comes up. Because you've dealt with everything that's come up so far, and you've probably gone through some pretty difficult times as a child. Now you're an adult. You have the capacity and the resilience to be able to build this in yourself. So you can't think your way out of a feeling problem. You need to shift your attention into your body. Take a few breaths, realize, hey, I'm in victim mentality. I'm going into my body. I'm going to stay here for a minute. Sensation without explanation. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to relax my shoulders. I'm going to relax my jaw. And I'm just going to sit there and find that younger version of me and show that younger version of me that they can have faith. Faith over fear. Faith over the fact that they don't have to go into victim mentality anymore. Victim mentality was something that helped you as a child. Or should I say more correctly, victim mentality gave you the illusion that you were keeping yourself safe as a child. And I think when you learn that you're not a child anymore, that you can become an adult and you can stay in this state of awareness, even though it hurts, even though the sensation may be uncomfortable, but now you're in charge of it. Now you've taken the stimulus of this alarm that's in your system, taken a breath, taken a beat, and then see that your response can be different. And if you practice noticing without judgment on yourself, without having to automatically go into, oh, I can't, I'll never do this, I'll never get on a plane, I'll never talk in front of people. When you learn how to be able to stay stable within yourself and you start practicing this more and more and more, this becomes the new groove. And you move from surviving to thriving, because when you were a child, you didn't have that chance. Your nervous system was created in the sense of protection and safety, but you're not a child anymore. So once you can see clearly in awareness your victim mentality, your worrying, you can choose that space between stimulus, which is the fear, and the response, which is, okay, I'm going into my body. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to stay present with the sensation in my feet, in my butt, when I'm sitting in a chair, when I'm lying down in my bed. I'm going to sit with sensation and stay here in sensation, even though my mind is screaming at me to start worrying again. The more you can stay in sensation without explanation, the more you can start processing that old alarm. And as you process that old alarm in awareness, it starts to dissipate. And as that alarm starts to dissipate and doesn't become the go-to reaction anymore, you start being able to have that choice that I don't have to worry. I don't have to choose worries consciously or unconsciously anymore. I can stay present with myself, even if that sensation is uncomfortable. And when you can learn to stay with that alarm, even in its discomfort, sensation without explanation, you start to truly break the alarm anxiety cycle and truly heal. And I'll talk to you next time.